Hello everyone, my name is Kirti and I am an assistant professor in IT. Today I am going to discuss the contract of life insurance and this is part 8, contract of life insurance. So life insurance contract may be defined as the contract whereby the insurer in consideration of a premium undertakes to pay a certain sum of money either on the death of the insured or on the expiry of a fixed period. So basically, life insurance, as we already discussed, where the subject matter is the life of a person. So the contract is defined that there is a contract between two parties, insurer and insured, and they means the insurer undertake a premium in consideration, and when the contingency occurs, that there is a liability arises on behalf of the insurer to compensate the insured. So basically, contract of life insurance has been divided into two parts, that is general contract and special contract. So move to general contract means where all the essential elements of Indian Contract Act according to section 10 Indian Contract Act 1872 has been defined. Number one is so first we discuss the general contract. Number one is agreement. Agreement states offer and acceptance. So offer is a proposal, is intimation to another of one's intention to do or to abstain from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent of that other person to such an act. In simple language, we can say when we make a proposal to someone, that is an offer, and when the other person is interested in our offer, then he makes an acceptance. Now offer and acceptance become a promise and it is converted into an agreement. Then when it is enforceable by law, it becomes a contract, right? So there is a contract between insurer and insured. Then move to competency of the parties. So competent of the parties means the party should be competent. So it covers mainly three aspects. Number one, the person should be of the major, means at least she or she should be of 18 years age. Secondly, the person is of sound mind. Or third one is it should not be disqualified from any law. So person should be competent. Now move to free consent of the parties, or the parties must be additive. It means that both the parties must be of the same mind at the time of the contract. So there is no deal of coercion, under influence, fraud, misrepresentation or fraud. If the consent is not free, the contract is generally voidable at the option of the parties whose consent are not freely given, right? Then move to legal consideration. So consideration I already discussed. Consideration means you are giving something to the other person and you are asking for some return. So there is a legal consideration means, so what is the consideration between insurer and insured? The premium paid by the insured to the insured is the consideration of the insurer, and when the contingency occur, and when the policy matures, so that amount has been given by the insurer to insured, so that is a consideration for the insured. So there should be a legal consideration. Then move to legal objective. Now legal objective means you cannot save the life of a hypothetical person. The person should be in the existence. So there should be a legal objective. The contract would be legal only when the object is legal. Without means, and you have an insurable interest too in that legal object, means why you want to make an insure to that particular person, because you have some insurable interest. So if the without having the insurable interest, the object of the contract would not be legal, right? So basically the object of a legal life insurance contract is to protect oneself or one family against financial losses at the death of the insured. Now move to special contract. So special contract states like there are some certain principles which you should follow while taking the insurance policy, because company is asking that why you want to insure a uh, particular person or particular property, what's your monetary not working on some sentiments. You have to give the particular reason why you want to insure a particular property, a person, right? So number one special contract element is insurable interest. So insurable interest means why you want to insure a particular person. Either you have a blood relation with that person, or relationship declared by law, or you have a monetary relationship. As we discussed the life insurance case, so monetary relationship will not exist, but there should be a blood relation or relationship declared by law. Blood relative, anyone, your mother, father, your sister, brother. The relationship declared by law, the relationship is between husband and wife, right? So the insured must have an insurable interest in the life to be insured for a valid contract, or there should be a legal relationship exists between the policy holder and the life assured. Then move to utmost good faith. Utmost good faith states like you have a trust, you have a trust on both the parties, right? Then simultaneously both the parties have trust on each other, because without trust contract cannot be made. The life insurance requires the principle of utmost good faith should be preserved by both the parties. So it says the parties proposer or insured, the insurer must of the same mind. So they should declare all the material facts to each other. In life insurance case, material facts are like age, income, occupation, habits, health, residence, family history, plan of insurance, right? So you have information to each other, specifically from the side of the insured. There should be a full and true disclosure of all the material facts. Means there is no concealment, misrepresentation, half disclosure, fraud of the subject matter to be insured. Then move to warranties. Now warranties states the terms and conditions exist while taking the policy. It is an integral part of the contract. These are the basis of the contract between the insurer, and if any statement whether material or non-material is untrue, the contract shall be null and void, and the premium paid by him may be forfeited by the insurer. So the policy issued will contain that the proposed in the personal statement shall form the part of the policy and be the basis of the contract. So we can say one is like terms and conditions, because when you made a claim, so accordingly at least the company need a 45 days minimum, so that the surveyor can check whatever the loss has been occurred and when the death has been occurred. So there is some time period required by the insurance company, so that the claim has been passed, and there is should be checking of proper documentation or medical report, the why the person get into the death stage, right? Then move to proximate cause. Generally proximate cause principle is not applicable in case of life insurance, because proximate cause principle states like, oh, what is the nearest cause, which is the nearest cause through which the particular person or the particular property get damaged or particular person get died. But in life insurance case, the company is not liable to check the proximate cause, but there are certain exceptions. Number one is war risk. War risk states that if the, for example, if the risk, and second one is suicide. Suicide means, when you take the policy and within 1 year you attempt suicide, so the policy amount has been restricted just because of, so means the company thought that you made a suicide because of you have intentionally made a suicide after taking the policy. Now it is the perception of the company. Then move to number one is violence, I already discussed, and second suicide, and third one is accidental. Now when the person get injured through accident, or if the death occurs, so the company look into the proximate cause, that why the death has been occurred due to the negligence of third party or intentionally, or the uh, breaks, there is a breakdown in the car or whatever the mode through which the transportation has been made, or the person is walking condition. So whatever the reason the company is looking into. So I mean to say that proximate cause principle is not applicable in case of life insurance, but there are three exceptions. which I discussed, war risk, second second is suicide, and third one is accident, right? So in this case, the company is liable to whatever the premium paid by the insured at that time. The company is liable to pay back to that amount or surrender value, whichever is higher, right? Then move to assignment and nomination. So assignment means endorsement. So whenever you take a loan, or already you have a loan and you want to return back, but you have not, right now you're not capable to pay back your loan, so you just surrender or you just assign, right? You just assign to the policy to the other person, so there all the rights with that assignment has also transferred. Assigner is the one who assigned the policy, and assigner is the one who is taking the policy from the assigner. Now on the part of the assigner, it cannot be revoked, but it is the part of the assignee that he or she can revoke the policy or pay back the policy to the assigner itself. So that is the assignment. And move to nomination means when you're taking the policy, you have to mention the nominee or beneficiary in the policy, so that if the death occurs or if the contingency occurs, so that that amount has been given to your nominee. In case of life insurance, when the policy matures and if the policy holder survives the whole period, so that amount has been paid back to the policy holder itself. But if during the period of policy amount, if there contingency occur or if the person died, so that amount given to the nominee which you have mentioned in the policy, and the person during the period of the tenure can change the nominee any number of times, or before the policy matures, right? Then move to return of premium. Once the premium has been paid, it cannot be paid back, but only one reason, the reason of equity, where is justified. Like if there you make an insurance of a hypothetical person, so how can the company charge a premium? So for the reason of equity, if there is misrepresentation, mistake, so that there is a liability raises on behalf of the company to pay back the premium to the policy holder. Otherwise, once you paid the premium, it cannot be returned, right? So there are some other features also defined. Number one is aleatory contract and unilateral contract condition. Aleatory contract states like the policyholder has to pay the premium only and only when he survives the whole of the tenure of the period. If the policyholder get died even after paying the once or twice premium, so the company has to pay the complete amount to the beneficiary. So that is the aleatory contract. Then unilateral contract means, because as we already studied in the business law, that bilateral and unilateral. Bilateral means when the simultaneously both the parties work together. Unilateral states like previously the insured paid the premium to the insurance company. So previously the action taken by the insured. Secondly, when the policy mature, the action taken by the insurance company. So that is a unilateral contract. Conditional contract, there is a condition states while paying the premium by the policy holder. After that, the commencement of the insurance contract has been started, and then the liability of the insurance company has been started. That is what is called conditional contract. Now move to contract of adhesion. Contract of adhesion states that you have to follow all the terms and conditions. You cannot make your own negotiation. You cannot make a mutual negotiation with the company that I agree with certain terms and conditions. That is not okay with that contract of insurance. Now, indemnity contract is not applied. As we will discuss, indemnity principle states that whatever the loss has been occurred, so the company is liable to pay only or only that loss, that particular loss. So this principle is applicable in property insurance or other insurance, but not in life insurance, right? So I think everything has been clear to you. Thank you so much.